Duncan and the Pirate Ship. Written and told by Kiefer Adams. Duncan was in a rather particularly good mood. A pirate event was being held in the hills, and at Percival Park, people would come and pretend to be pirates for the children. It was an exciting event, and the little engines also enjoyed seeing it from the comfort of their own rails. Duncan puffed cheerfully into the wharf before the last day of the event, feeling rather excited. "You're in a good mood," said Thomas. He had just brought workmen aboard Annie and Clarabel to mend one of the cranes at the wharf. "I have good reason to," said Duncan. "Mr. Percival has asked me to show a special guest around the hills before tomorrow's last event." "Oh, really?" said Thomas. "Who?" "I can't say much," replied Duncan, "but his name's Pip. He's new round here, and he's going to play a very special part in the show indeed." "Well, whoever this Pip is," said Thomas, "let's hope he feels welcome." "Aye, I'm sure he will be," puffed Duncan. He puffed away, feeling rather excited. "You know, it's always a good day when Duncan's in good spirits," said Thomas. Annie and Clarabel tittered in agreement. That evening, the little engines were getting ready for some nighttime work. Peter Sam was due to leave first. He had to take some supplies to the mountain villages. Duncan saw this as an opportunity for a little bit of fun. "I'd be very careful going in the hills tonight, fellas," he said aloud. "Why?" inquired Rusty. "Well," said Duncan, "I've heard tell about the legendary Captain Travis." "Captain who?" asked Skarloey. "Have you not heard of Captain Travis?" said Duncan. "He was a pirate that roamed round here years ago, sailed around in his little ship and buried his treasure right in the heart of the hills. Unfortunately, when he came back years later, our rails were placed on top of it, and he never found his treasure." "That sounds rather spooky," said Rheneas. "Don't listen to Duncan," said Skarloey. "There's no such legend as Captain Travis round here." "I'm not so sure," said Peter Sam. "Ooh, I wish Sir Handel were here. He would have clarified if it was true or not." "Well, Sir Handel ain't here," said Duncan darkly. "Anyway, good night, fellas. I've got a wee bit of work to do up at the mines before calling it a day." And Duncan puffed smugly away. "Is he feeling all right?" said Rheneas. "Of course he is," retorted Skarloey. "We've been on this railway longer than him, and there's never been a legend about some pirate and treasure. Oh, who does Duncan think he is anyway?" The little engines didn't say anything else. By the time Peter Sam was off with his deliveries for the mountain villages, a heavy mist had rolled down onto the hills. Peter Sam puffed cautiously along the line, trying hard to keep to his work. "It's all right, Peter Sam, it's all okay," he kept saying to himself. "Duncan's story is just make-believe. Just remember what old Grandpuff used to say. If it doesn't exist, it won't bother you." Suddenly, there was a rush of wind, which caught Peter Sam by surprise. "Oh no," he whimpered. "It's Proteus again!" But instead of a magic lamp, Peter Sam saw something else. Gliding past him appeared to be a small boat with a huge white sail. It drifted silently past Peter Sam and disappeared within moments. "That's impossible," Peter Sam gasped. "There's not a single lake around here. What? How are we getting out of here?" Peter Sam shot away as fast as he could. The boat sailed for half a mile up the line before it passed Rheneas, who had been shunting in a small goods yard. He shut his eyes tightly at the sight of the boat and didn't open them again until he believed it was safe to do so. Meanwhile, Rusty and Skarloey were working at the transfer yards. Mighty Mac had an important delivery to make in the morning, so the little engines had volunteered to arrange his trucks so that there wouldn't be any trouble to marshal them in the morning. Skarloey, said Rusty, you still don't believe that story Duncan told us, do you? Absolutely not, Skarloey retorted. He needs to learn by now that Linnaeus and I are the oldest engines on the railway, and nothing pirate-related has ever happened here. By the way, Rusty, why do you ask? Well, can you explain that to me then? Rusty said, his eyes pointing to the right as he spoke. I don't believe it, gasped Skarloey. Sure enough, gliding past Rusty and Skarloey was the very vessel that Peter Sam had seen. As it did before, it glided past the two engines and was gone in moments. I'm not staying in this yard any longer, wailed Skarloey, and he hurried away to his shed. Don't leave me here, wailed Rusty, and he hurried after him. Peter, Sam and Linnaeus were already in the sheds when Rusty and Skarloey returned, but they then realised that Duncan had not returned. The next morning, the little engines were quite surprised when the Fin controller wanted to see them on an urgent matter. Could you all tell me what went on last night? He asked as he brought the engines to the transfer yards. Mighty Mac was late with his delivery this morning. The trucks in the yards where you were working, Linnaeus, had not been sorted, and the mountain villagers had to get up very early to clear the supplies, Peter Sam. Please, sir, don't be cross with us, Peter Sam whimpered. We were just caught by surprise through the ghost ship. What's this about a ghost ship? The little engines were quite surprised when Duncan arrived, but he didn't look scared. Ghost ship? Said Mr. Percival. Duncan, is there something you'd like to tell us? Duncan gave a small chuckle. It's not funny, said Linnaeus. Where were you last night anyway after the shed? Said Rusty. I thought the ghost ship would have got him, said Peter Sam rather meekly. Oh, there was no ghost ship, lads, said Duncan. Was there, Pip? The little engines looked ahead and were very surprised. Being brought in by a gentle wind was the boat from the night before. Now that the mist had cleared, the little engines could see that this boat ran on rails. Oh, hello there, said the boat. Name's Pip. Pleased to meet you. The Fin controller nearly guffawed with laughter. Ah, Pip, I almost forgot. You've come to help with the final day of the Pirates event. Yeah, that's right, replied Pip. Duncan was showing me around. He couldn't tell you all about me because it was a surprise. So that's why you kept things quiet, said Skarloey. And what a wind-up as well, exclaimed Linnaeus. The Fin controller laughed. I don't think there'll be any ghost ships on this line for a long time, he chuckled. But all the same, the little engines did make Pip feel very welcome. He was a wonderful addition to the final day of the pirate event, and between the little engines, there were no more talks about ghost ships in the hills.